You know what? Nothing's marketing is a little weird.
Just to keep it super fair, we'll be testing it against an iPhone 16 Pro Max. We'll shoot the exact same photos across both devices.
Do we pay for this?
Comparing the cameras on a mid-range Phone 3a Pro to a flagship iPhone 16 Pro Max is, you know what? I'll let Phil Schiller say it.
Courage.
And therefore, I really had to check out if the Phone 3a Pro's cameras can actually compete against the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Let's figure that out together. If you're watching me for the first time, I'm Ershad. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Firstly, if you look at it, the 50MP sensors, 12MP pixel build outputs are no match for the 24MP pixel build outputs of the iPhone. When you look at the 100% crop, you just get way more details, far better finer textures on the iPhone. Nothing did also mention in its video about a full well capacity for extended dynamic range performance. Let's take a look at HDR. In the first image, you can see that the highlights are blown out on the iPhone and Nothing does a fantastic job here. Even in the next image, the shadow detail has been pushed out very well by Nothing's algorithm. This is in line with what I noticed when testing the Phone 3a Pro's camera against the Nord 4. Nothing's HDR performance seems to have improved by leaps and bounds, which is something that I'm very happy about. But it's not without its flaws. There are a couple of things that I specifically noticed. Firstly, when you look at the 100% crop, you will see some HDR bloom, especially in the highlight region. And I think that this is more of an algorithm problem. And in this final image, there is an inconsistency in tuning, which ends up creating a flat look in extremely bright scenarios. Now, moving on, by default, the Phone 3a Pro tends to prefer brighter images. Therefore, it tends to wash out colors like in this camera sample of Dolly Alderton's book. The iPhone's color tuning is near perfect here. Plus, the Phone 3a Pro has a tendency to mess with the white balance, as you can see for yourself here, which is also true in this low light sample. Trust me, my house doesn't have such jaundice infused colors for a warm light because it doesn't look this bad. This is the problem with inconsistency that I noticed with the Nothing Phone 3a Pro's camera. There is an issue with target exposure and target white balance sometimes. And when you move on to low light photography, it's nowhere near as good as the 16 Pro Max. When you look at the 100% crop, it reveals all the flaws in the Phone 3a Pro's image. You can see pixel blotching, over sharpening, and aggressive noise correction softening out the details. Now, this is where you need to understand the difference between a mid-range camera performance and a flagship camera performance, right? Now, before I move on to talk about pictures of people captured by the Phone 3a Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I want you guys to do one thing. Hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, you might miss out on some awesome content like this. In general, the skin tones are brighter too, especially at 1x shots. This is something that I noticed even in the previous video. Thankfully, at 3x, the skin tones do become better. Seems like Nothing has tuned the 3x camera separately and the 1x camera separately, which should not have been the case. There should be consistency between the two cameras. Now, compare that 3x shot to the 5x of the iPhone. Yes, the Nothing Phone 3a Pro shot looks pretty decent here. It might not beat the iPhone, but it's pretty good. Now, moving on to portrait mode, the Phone 3a Pro actually gives you 4 different focal length options. You get 24mm, 50mm, 70mm, and 100mm. At 50mm, the semantic segmentation is definitely not as good as the iPhone. So basically, the 2x shots are inside the crop of the 1x shot, and it's generally not very well tuned. And the depth mapping also doesn't look very convincing here, obviously. But at 70mm or 3x, you can see the immediate improvement in the algorithm. Look at the individual strands of hair here and the edge cutout, and this is where you realize that the algorithm is tuned differently for different cameras. In fact, when you take a 100mm portrait shot and you compare that to the iPhone's 5x, it is actually very, very good. Some fine-tuning to the skin tone to make it look more neutral will definitely make this the best portrait camera phone under 30,000 rupees. Now, as for the ultrawide on the Phone 3a Pro, the 8MP unit used by Nothing actually does a fantastic job here. It stands toe-to-toe with the Pro Max. I know that a 100% crop reveals finer textures on the Pro Max, but that's only if you pixel peep. Otherwise, I really like Nothing here. But the problem is with the low-light ultrawide shots captured by the Phone 3a Pro. You can take a look at it for yourself. iPhone's just way better. Now, the 3x L-shaped periscope camera is also good for capturing close-up macros because you get autofocus at close distances. Technically, the iPhone can go closer with the ultrawide and capture more details, but you can see that the macro images are generally warped around the edges because of ultrawide's characteristics, right? Now, that problem is negated by the telephoto used by the Phone 3a Pro. The Phone 3a Pro's selfie camera is also very, very good. In fact, I would say that it goes up valiantly against the iPhone's selfie here. You get fairly close to neutral skin tones on both the phones, and you get a lot of details with the 50MP sensor used by Nothing as well. Selfies against the light are slightly better on the iPhone because it doesn't create that hazy HDR bloom effect around the face that Nothing does. Portrait selfies captured by the Phone 3a Pro, on the other hand, are right up there with the iPhone in terms of quality. I'm really surprised at how well it matches up. Although if you look at the edge detection, I think that the iPhone does slightly better here. But where the phone 3a Pro surprised me, and it is bloody good, is in selfies captured in low light. You can see that selfies captured in low light actually have more detail and better exposure than the 16 Pro Max. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the phone 3a Pro's selfie camera is proper flagship grade and can sometimes even beat the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Yeah, good job, Nothing. Alright, now it's time to talk about the zoom performance of both these cameras. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is at 2x, the iPhone is far superior compared to Nothing. However, at 3x, Nothing's zoom performance wins thanks to the dedicated periscope. Same is true for the iPhone at 5x because of its dedicated telephoto camera. Now, at 6x, I actually expected Nothing to be better because of the in-sensor crop, but truth be told, iPhone does it way better. In fact, even at longer zoom ranges, like for example at 10x or 25x, iPhone beats Nothing at details and textures. In low light zoom scenarios, except for 3x, the iPhone is far better than Nothing here. Take a look at the samples carefully. We'll play them out for you: 2x, 3x, 6x. So in general, when you look at it, whether it's the primary camera, the ultra-wide, or the zoom camera, low light photography is where Nothing loses out to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and that is okay because this is a mid-range phone. This is a flagship, unlike what Nothing wants you to believe. And when you move on from photography to videography, it's kind of humiliating for mid-range phones, right? Because these phones are way more capable. I mean, I'm talking about the 16 Pro Max, obviously. Because with the primary camera, firstly, you get 4K 60 FPS video recording with far better dynamic range capabilities. The phone 3a Pro can only do 4K 30 FPS. There are some 30K phones that can do 4K 60 FPS video recording in this price range, right? In ultrawide, the phone 3a Pro tops out only at 1080p 30 FPS, which I mean is again no match for the iPhone, which can do 4K 60 FPS, but here's a 1080p 30 FPS comparison for you to see. Zoom video quality also, if you look at it, when you zoom into subjects, it's smoother and it's better than the phone 3a Pro. Of course, phone 3a Pro's zooming performance is kind of smooth. It's not a problem, but yeah, I mean, iPhone's better. Also, one more thing to note is that the actual 3x periscope camera can only do 1080p 30 FPS videos because at 4K 30 FPS, it uses a 3x digital crop, like I mentioned in my previous video. Here, let me show you what happens when we use the finger to cover the lens when the phone is shooting at 4K 30 FPS. Selfie video recording is again superior on the iPhone. Nothing tops out at 4K 30 FPS. iPhone can do 4K 60 FPS. Although I must say this, the audio quality captured in videos by the phone 3a Pro is actually pretty good. Of course, it's not as dynamic and it doesn't have such a high bitrate as the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but it's still pretty good. This is a 4K 30 FPS recording on the iPhone and the Nothing phone 3a. 1080p 30 FPS footage on the iPhone compared to the Nothing phone 3a Pro. Now remember that the iPhone can do 4K 60 FPS, alright? This is a 4K 30 FPS video recording using the selfie camera on the Nothing phone 3a Pro and the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and this is what the quality looks like. See, the phone 3a Pro is easily one of the best camera phones in its price range. It's definitely in the top 3. But let's not fall into that Nothing marketing hype, because the 3a Pro still has quite a few flaws that need to be fixed in the camera system, and I hope that Nothing can do that with a few future updates. It's a great camera setup for a mid-range phone, but to compare it to the 16 Pro Max and call it flagship grade would be stretching things a little too much. In fact, I would say that if you temper your expectations with the 3a Pro's cameras, you're going to be very happy with the results that you get from it. As for Nothing, I'd say that it's always better to pick a fight with someone your own size, no? David cannot always beat Goliath, right? Alright, what do you guys think of the phone 3a Pro's camera performance? Let me know in the comment section. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.